back to another video on Spiritual Jungle. You guys see the title of the video, and we're going to dive on that in a little bit. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Etienne Telford, and once again, welcome back to another video on Spiritual Jungle. It's going to be a very powerful message. It's going to be a very powerful video. It's going to be very jam-packed with information, details, strategies. And you guys are going to be equipped. You guys are going to be strengthened. You guys are going to be, dangerous, armed and dangerous to tackle on the enemy and just break through darkness. And, I'm ready to dive in on that. But first, like, comment, share this video, share, please. Share it to your family, share it to your co-workers, share it to your boss, share it to whoever. Because this is great news. This is good news. This is powerful news. You guys know before, I dive in on this topic that, make sure you guys have your pens ready, your pencil ready, your food ready, your lunch ready. There's going to be a lot of information jam-packed in this video. It's going to be a lot of gems jam-packed in this video. It's going to be a lot of verses jam-packed in this video. And I want you guys to be equipped, armed, and dangerous because we going for it in this video. It's going to be a jam-packed, nice, juicy, meaty video. And we're going to take off and we're not going to look back. And also, guys, do not worry. I'm going to take time out to include the verses and the definitions in the video as well as in the description so you guys can follow along better and just make it easier on you guys. In order to break through the devil's darkness, you first got to know what the meaning of darkness is, right? See, the worldly definition of darkness is simply without light. See, but I'm not talking about concert lights. I'm not talking about, the light in your room or the light in your car. I am talking about this fact that most of you guys are in spiritual darkness. See, and when you're in spiritual darkness, you're basically spiritually dead. You're spiritually blind. You're spiritually lost. You're spiritually confused. You're spiritually, it's like a compass rose. You're north, you're south, you're east, you're west, and then that person is literally spinning you. You're all over the place. You don't know what's going on. You're tripping over yourself. You're stumbling over yourself. You're just like a whack-a-mole. You're just, you're just spiritually dead. Just out of it. That right there is the devil's darkness because you're stuck in the repeated cycle of just sin. You're stuck in your own ways. You're going left. You're going right. You're making a U-turn 30 times, an old turn, a yellow turn. That's exactly where the devil resides right there. Because he knows if he can keep you in that darkness, the chances of you beating Jesus and turning to Jesus, and because remember, understand too, Jesus is light. So when you're in darkness, Jesus is not inside of you. He's not, the pilot of you. He's not directing you. He's not your GPS. So the devil knows that, and he wants to keep you in that darkness and have you looking crazy and confused and lost. So understand that the devil darkness is you're spiritually dead. Now I'm going to give you more information about spiritual darkness, which in other words is the devil's darkness. Spiritual darkness, right, is a symptom of spiritual death. The unregenerate are spiritually dead and live in spiritual darkness. Listen to this now. All humans, right, are born spiritually dead due to the original sin of Adam. So if you guys remember, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know about this story, the Adam and Eve story, probably the most popular stories in the Bible. If you guys remember, the serpent, the crafty devil, came to Eve and convinced her and tricked her and deceived her into eating the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden. So that right there was the original origin place of sin. Now, let me continue reading. The regenerate are made alive spiritually. They live in spiritual light. Only people who are spiritually alive can truly understand God's word and its truth and richness. For the unregenerate, this is impossible. In other words, spiritually dead, spiritual death. Their mind and heart are darkened, and they are following the path of darkness, although they may not perceive it. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I was telling you guys earlier about how you keep stumbling and you're stuck in mud and you seem like you don't know if you're going north, south, east, or west because you don't even know it because you don't even know that you're in darkness. You see what I'm saying? You're without Jesus. You're without light. He's not your compass. He's not your GPS. He's not your navigation. So a lot of people, like I said earlier, they're in spiritual darkness and they don't even know it. They don't even know what's going on. They can't find the origin of the problem because simply they don't have Jesus. So let me continue reading. They are enemies of God. He is not with them, right? This is what I just said. A heart of darkness boils within them. Asking, what is spiritual regeneration? Well, it basically just means new birth, born again, reborn, and listen to this, a new creature. Listen, a new creature in Christ. And I'm going to give you also a Bible verse too. In 2 Corinthians 5 verse 17, it says that if anyone is in Christ, right, he is a new. Now listen to what I just said. He is a new creature, right? The old passed away. That's when you was in spiritual darkness. You wasn't with Jesus. You had no light. You was just, like I said, the compass rose north, south, east, and west, right? The old things passed away, right? Behold, new things have come. Now I'm going to give you another verse, which is Ephesians 2, 1-3. And it says, as for you, you are dead. Now listen to, see, key word, dead. In other words, spiritually dead, right? In your transgressions and sins. You see, dead, sins, spiritual darkness, dead, sin, in which you used to live when you followed the ways of this world and the ruler of the kingdom of the air. And who is that? Satan. The spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. I know, guys, I get it. I understand. I just gave you a fat, juicy verse for you guys to soak in, digest, understand, comprehend, just get a grip on. And you guys are probably wondering, what does all of that mean? What's all of that mean? I don't get it. I don't comprehend. I'm clueless. What is he talking about? Like, how does it relate back to the spiritual darkness? How does it relate back to the devil darkness? And I get it. I understand. But don't worry about it. I'm going to break it down for you guys, verse by verse, right? I'm going to dissect it for you guys so you guys can have a better comprehension and understanding about what this passage is trying to tell you and how this all ties back to the spiritual darkness that I'm talking about. So make sure you have your pen ready, your pencil ready, highlighter ready, however you take your notes, right? Make sure you have all that ready because we're going straight in on this. The first verse, the key point of that was they were dead in sin, right? So since we know Paul is talking about the spiritual state, not a physical state, we must understand that deadness, right, refers to our spiritual life. The Ephesians were alive physically, but dead spiritually, right? I mentioned that earlier in the video, how you could be physically alive, right? You're going to work, you're going to school, you're going to church and these type of things, but inside of you spiritually, right, you're dead. Spiritual darkness and, ultimately the devil darkness. You don't have Jesus. You don't have the light. You're dead in the spirit. Paul chose this comparison because it accurately describes not only the nature of an unbeliever, but also the impossibility, right? Look, this keyword, impossibility of an unbeliever recognizing and correcting his own condition. You can't correct and fix your problems by yourself. You got to let God take. Follow me now. Now we on verse 2. So the main point, the main idea, the main headline of that, right? That main headline of that verse, right, is this state of spiritual deadness. Spiritual deadness, spiritual darkness, devil darkness. Key word, devil darkness, is according to the course of the world. So Paul is saying that the natural state of every man and woman during this age of time is to be spiritually dead, right? This is normal and universal. We know from Romans and Genesis. Remember Genesis, the origin of life, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, right? That's the cause for humanity's dead state is the sin of Adam, which we inherited at birth. So once again, the dead state is the sin. That's darkness of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, right? So Paul is explaining that the Ephesian spiritual deadness prior to faith was not unique. They simply shared a condition that affects all humanity. Every person begins their life on earth in a state of spiritual deadness. Key word, every person begins their life on earth in a state of spiritual deadness, spiritual darkness, devil darkness, dead. You're dead when you come out the womb. You're dead. You're without Jesus. You're without light. And think about it. Why you think there's a lot of miscarriages, kids, babies, abandoned at birth, People come out the womb with problems with their legs, their arms, birth defects. All of that, all of that stems from Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, right? So the main headline, the main topic, right, the main idea of that verse number 2 is you come out the womb, you come into this life spiritually dead. You're in darkness. You already come out in darkness. Now follow me now. We on verse 3. And this is the juicy one. This is the one you really got to pay attention to. Verse 3, right? So the main idea, main point, main headline of that verse is this day is according to the prince of the power of the air. Now, who is the prince of the power of the air? Once again, that is Satan. He is the ruler of this world. He is currently, as I'm recording and filming this video, he is ruling and walking on this earth. He is roaming on this earth. Mind you, be sober-minded, be alert and sober-minded. Your adversary or your enemy, the devil, roams around like a roaring lion looking for somebody to devour. So as I'm speaking right now, he is roaming the earth looking for somebody to eat up for lunch, devour, mess up, to kill, steal, and destroy, right? Who is now working amongst the unbelieving world. So spiritual deadness is a condition which finds its source, pay attention to this, which finds its source in Satan. Spiritual deadness, spiritual darkness, right? Devil darkness, its source is Satan. He was first to fall, and his deceptive influence contributed to the fall of man in the Garden of Eden. There it is again, the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. Remember, Adam and Eve in Genesis. Today, right now, 2021, he rules the heart of those who bound in spiritual deadness. Like I said earlier, if you're spiritual deadness, you're without Jesus. That's Satan right there. You're lost. You're stuck. You're in mud. You're north, south, east, and west. You're a pogo stick. You're going crazy. You don't even know why. Why? Because Satan wants you stuck in spiritual darkness. Not paying attention, and he exerts his controlling, keyword controlling influence through the fear. See, people fear death. They don't. People be wondering what happens after. Yeah, that's fear. It's in itself is already like one of the biggest devil attacks. Let me look at this pandemic we're in, COVID-19. When it first came out, and even today, the fear. You see it all over the news. You see it all over the radio. You hear it everywhere. Left, right, up, down. Fear. Even me personally, when it first came out, I had a whole panic attack because of fear. So now listen, fear of death, right? So if you know that you got Jesus inside of you, Jesus promised us eternal life. But Satan don't want you to know that. That's why he wants to keep you in that spiritual darkness, dead, so you don't find the light, which is Jesus, right? So basically, in short, all unbelievers, keyword unbelievers, are spiritually dead sons and slaves. Now, see, I mean, this is like another level. You a slave of the devil. If you in spiritual darkness and you in that crazy sin cycle, you're a slave. But you're not a slave. You're not a worker for God. You're not. You're doing all of that crazy stuff for the devil, for his glory. You've been lied to. You've been deceived. Wake up. You're a slave for the devil. Okay. So that's the key point. The main key point. The main highlight of that is the source of spiritual deadness, spiritual darkness, is the devil. He wants you stuck in there. He wants you stuck in mud. He wants you going -5 miles per hour. He don't ever want you to go 1 mile per hour. He wants you to go backwards. You think you're going forward, but you're really going backwards. You just made a whole U-turn 55 times right to the same spot on the GPS. You ain't going anywhere. He don't want you to find that light. He don't want you to get off. He don't want you to take that exit on the highway. He wants you to keep driving. He do not want you to take that exit, because that exit, mind you, the narrow road, it's a narrow road of life, right? The broad way of the highway is the road that I'm thinking about the highway. A lot of people's on the highway, but that's the road to destruction. The exit, which is the narrow road, is the road that leads to life. See, I'm gonna give you another verse, but pay attention now. The devil wants to keep you away from that light. He wants to keep you away from that light. He wants to keep you away from Jesus. He wants you stuck planted, chained, glued. I mean, the man wants you in spiritual darkness. He wants you in that devil darkness. He is, and mind you, the Satan is very smart. He's very strategic. He is Satan is not dumb. Don't underestimate the power of Satan, or don't underestimate how smart Satan is. Now, he's nothing compared to Jesus, but to humans and how carefully strategic he is a very smart man. And you know, I already made a video about that where I was a round table with either a high-ranking demon or Satan himself, where the man is literally on the drawing board on how to like destroy your life. See what I'm saying? He has assignments and plots and schemes to mess you up and destroy you and to keep you away from that light. So pay attention, right? So in 2 Corinthians 4 verse 4, it said, in their case, the God of this world. Now, this is not the capital G God, this is the lowercase g, which is Satan, has he blinded you, he just blinded you, right? The mind of the unbeliever. So you're an unbeliever, you're blind. You're I made a video about this too. You're on a drug like LSD, psychedelic. You know, you're going crazy, you don't even know why. All because he wants to, then verse continue, to keep you away from seeing the light of God. The light of God. You see, the light of God, of the gospel, right? Another powerful takeaway is when you are in darkness, you cannot see. In Proverbs 4 verse 19, it says, but the way of the wicked is like total darkness. They have no idea what they are stumbling over. You have no idea what you're tripping over. That's basically what that's saying. John 11 verse 10, it says, but at night there is danger of stumbling because they have no light. So mind you, God is not your GPS. The devil is, right? I notice in both verses, right? They both have the word stumbling. And the definition of stumbling is to lose lose balance, you wobbling, or you're always tripping. So it's like a repeated cycle of you tripping over yourself, wobbling, and you can never get, you know, you're never well balanced. And you don't even know why. And that's another thing too. You don't even know why, because in Proverbs 4 verse 19, it says they have no idea what they're stumbling over. So you keep on falling and you don't even know why you're falling. Or what's caused you to fall. That's all part of the devil darkness right there. He wants to keep you trapped and keep you falling. So if you guys remember back in the book of Exodus, right? When Pharaoh was the king of Egypt and he was so stubborn and hard-headed that he didn't want to release the Israelites, right? And Moses was sent to free the Israelites from slavery, and God used him to go talk to the Pharaoh, right? And Pharaoh was so stubborn and hard-headed, and he just wouldn't listen, and the man was just full of himself. And God sent Egypt so many plagues. I mean, that I don't know if that was Egypt or if that was the lake. I don't know what that was after God done sent like 40 plagues their way. But if you guys remember, one of the plague was a plague of darkness. Now, a quick refresher and a quick reminder, right? The first plague was water turned to blood. Second plague was frogs. Third plague was the gnats. Fourth plague was a swarm of flies. The fifth plague was the death of livestock. Sixth plague was the boils. The seventh plague was hail. The eighth plague was locusts, right? The ninth plague was darkness. There it is. The ninth plague was darkness, right? And the 10th plague was the death of the firstborn. Now let's go back to the plague of darkness. Just for the purpose of the video. So in verse 21, it says, then the Lord said to Moses, stretch your hand out, right, towards the sky so that the darkness spread over Egypt, right? So darkness can be felt. Verse 22, so Moses stretched out his hand towards the sky and total darkness covered all Egypt for 3 days. 3 days, right? Yet all the Israelites had light. You see right there? The Israelites had the light and the rest of Egypt was in darkness, right? So at that point, darkness is punishment because the Israelites had God on their side and the Egyptians, right? There was in total darkness, and it's crazy to even think about. I'm pretty sure they was wondering what the heck is going on. They probably was stumbling over each other. They probably was panicking, going crazy, like, oh my gosh, yeah, for three days. So when we have a hurricane or a natural disaster come our way and we're without electricity and we're in the dark, people start going crazy, like, I don't know what's going on. I can't talk to my friend. I can't call you. I can't this. My phone died. My battery, my laptop died. Yeah, cause it's a plague. You going crazy. That's the whole point. There's no light. So the Israelites had the light, and the rest of Egypt was just filled with darkness, right? So the whole point of that is you don't want to be in darkness. You want that light. And when Egypt, I'm pretty sure when those people had to experience darkness for 3 days, they probably didn't know what was going to pay attention. A very big question that pops up, right? A very big question that pops up, right? And you guys need to take notes of this and pay attention to this. How does the devil keep you in darkness? Because you got to know the plan of the plans and the strategy of the enemy in order to prevent and stay away from these things, right? Because remember, the devil is very smart. He's very strategic, and like I said, the man has plots and schemes and assignments, and he has an agenda to mess you up. So if you're not very careful and you're not paying attention, you might fall into one of his traps. So in Romans 12 verse 12 it says, do not conform. I mean, in Romans 12 verse 2 it says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, right? Basically trying to keep up with the world, because the world is patterns and cycles. And I'm gonna go dive and talk about that a little bit more, after I read this verse to you. But be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Now, what does that mean? It's basically transform your mind, right? To have a mind like Jesus Christ. But you can't have a mind like Jesus Christ if you're stuck in the world, right? So you have to get out the world, go read the Bible, go pray and stuff. Now you're gonna start developing the mind like Jesus Christ. You see how that works? But see, the devil don't want you to do that. He wants you stuck in the world, trying to keep up with the trends on social media or Twitter and things like that, which is actually one of the patterns I'm going to talk about right now, which is one of them is the news. See, when you watch the news, even right now, this pandemic, all they're doing is promoting fear and just death. I mean, think about it. Get notification on your phone. It's not good news. All you're going to see is somebody died, somebody did some shooting, recovered, hospitals are filled up. What's going on in the White House? It's like patterns and cycles of just terrible news, terrible, crazy news. Before you know it, you keep watching that type of stuff, keep hearing that type of stuff. Before you know, it's going to affect you one way or the other, and it's going to affect you negatively. So if you was just somebody who was just going to work and doing what you have to do, you're fine. But listen, once you start listening to that stuff on the radio, and you mind you, your eyes are the window. Your eyes are the window of your soul, right? So if you keep feeding into that, right, you open up your mind, right, and demons work in the realm of your soul, which is your mind, will, and emotion. So now you're opening yourself up to that type of craziness. Before you know it, you're gonna start having anxiety. You're gonna start having, panic attack. You're gonna start going crazy, because this is what you're inviting into your soul. This is what you are entertaining, right? This is what you're watching and viewing, and that's basically one example of the pattern of this world is the news. There's nothing good on the news. These people are not going to talk about, these people barely talk about good stuff. It's just garbage. It's just terrible stuff. Terrible, just death in your ears, death in your face, death in your house. Before you know it, like I said, it's going to affect you negatively if you keep feeding into that. Second is social media. I mean, social media is another crazy and one of the devil's biggest way to keep you in darkness, because as soon as you get on social media, something crazy happens. Somebody is posting something crazy. Somebody saying crazy stuff, crazy graphic pictures, so on and so forth. And if you was just doing what you had to do before and you log on social media, you see something crazy, then it's like, oh man, it's going to affect you, because you was not even thinking about that to begin with. But as soon as you go on social media, somebody fighting, somebody beefing, somebody, hate, animosity, I don't like you, I don't like her, talking bad about him or her, so-and-so doing this, so-and-so doing that. And it's like, I mean, it's all this negativity you're feeding into your soul, which is just garbage, essentially, worldly garbage. So what I'm trying to say is just pay attention to the device of the enemy. Like, he is very strategic on how he wants to just corrupt your brain, and he don't want you to have a mind like Jesus Christ, because once you start developing a mind like Jesus Christ, then you're going to start paying attention and start noticing these things, his devices. And social media is a big one. It's a very, 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 very big one. There's a whole bunch of cluster of people, people just bring their craziness of their day and I mean, it's like a tornado, right into your timeline, or on whatever social media platform you use. It's just terrible, and that thing will affect you negatively. Like, I mean, there's research and studies done about how, you know, social media messes up with the way of thinking, the way you perceive people, and it's just terrible. I'm pretty sure I'll probably make a video about that another you know, another day or time down the road. But you know, it can get very deep. Another example of a pattern of this world is of course, drugs and alcohol. It keeps you in that cycle, the double darkness, outbreaks of disease, or some type of crazy disease every 2 to 3 years. Right now, we're in one right now with the COVID-19. So just by knowing these things and being attentive, it's going to help you out tremendously on staying away from the devil devices to get you. You will not walk in darkness when you're with Jesus, right? You have the light inside of you. Mind you, earlier I said the GPS, and yeah, you have now Jesus is your pilot. He is your GPS. He is your, you know, turn left and turn right, and he is your. See, I can't even compare Sirius to Jesus, because I got lost plenty of times using Sirius, and see, with Jesus, I never got lost. You would never get lost with Jesus, because he will always lead you down the right paths. Siri, I don't know. Sometimes it'll take you left when really you have to go right. I mean, Siri, I don't know. See, Jesus, you know. That's what I'm trying to say. So basically, with that, you need that personal relationship. You need to unlock that salvation. You have to repent, turn away from sin, for you to ultimately climb out of the devil darkness into the light, which is Jesus. Just walk that narrow road, because the narrow road leads to life, and that is ultimately how you climb out of the devil darkness into Jesus. It's your salvation and that personal relationship, which wraps it up for this video. I hope this video blessed you. It was very informative, jam-packed, a lot of verses, a lot of lessons, a lot of gems. I mean, man, it was straight fire today in this video, man. Just straight fire in this video. I hope you guys feel that energy. You guys feel that fire. And we're gonna be back with more videos and more fire pretty shortly. And I'll see you next time on Spiritual Jungle.